Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today. We'll begin today's service with the sutra chanting of Sambutsuge. As always, we are holding these virtual weekly memorial services in lieu of the memorial services that we normally have at the temple. And we'll continue to do these as the temple is closed. So please fill out the Google form to have your loved one's name read. So again, we'll start with the chanting of Sambutsuge, read the names of a short talk, and then close with the letter on white ashes. So we'll go ahead and get started with the chanting. Namon dops, namon dops, namon dops, namon dops, namon dops, namon dops, namon dops. 高元義義異人無極如善妙無用当社日月万に修行遠慮開始音米有脈十目如来予言朝鮮無人小学大音公入寺法開門精進三昧智慧意徳無量修正慶右神大前年小仏崩壊愚人人の空語外体無明欲ぬ生存用無人の死死人徳無量空空古来知恵人妙光明異相神道大仙願が差別在所法可能生じ身分下脱不正上位解任精進行税三昧知恵以上五世特物無行志願二歳空軍一差大安慶死有物百千億万無量大小修行五略用一切死と書物不尿具の検証不客非尿五略書物世界部不可見無種説の光明師匠変死小国尿税精進異人難量量が差物国の第一五種奇妙道場超絶国尿内音二無闘争がと愛民道達 月一歳実法来所新熱少量意図学国経楽安能好物神妙是が心象発願多い力少所欲実法生存知恵無下上量子孫知が信行軽量心知食毒中願行精進二入形南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム南蛮ダム願にしくどく病の生祭道も大心往生安那公Naman dubs naman 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 dubs. I'll now read the names for today's memorial service. Tom Takata, Shigeru Ohara, and 50th year Yoshimasa Hatano. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandos, 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 namandos. Okay, and I'll give a short talk. So, as I mentioned, the last name that I read was a 50th year memorial. So, as people are probably familiar with, we have these perpetual memorial services after someone passes away. So within that first year, and then also after that year, the year following someone passes away, there's these auspicious numbers that we pull significance from the Eastern tradition. So after the first one is the third one, because technically the first one is the second one, because once somebody passes away, the cycle starts. Anyway, but then, the 7th and the 10th and the 13th. And so there's these different numbers that we come together to both listen to the Dharma, but then also to see family and support one another. In the beginning, it's of course to help us get through the grief, but then as it kind of goes further, our grief turns into this appreciation. And it's not as sad anymore, and it's more of a opportunity for us to see family that maybe we haven't seen so often, to catch up, and then again, just to come together. So the last year usually that we will observe is the 50th year. And this is partly because it's hard enough to remember all the way up to 50 years. But not just that, it's also difficult to have family members, relatives that are living, that are old enough to remember the person who's passed away. So it's a little bit tough to get to that point, and so I like to make a point when we do have a 50th year memorial, because they're kind of rare and this amazing special observance, at least in my eyes. So we'll get into a little bit more into the history of these services, and not so much the service, but more the details around it. In Japan, a lot of times the temples were, especially if they're older temples, they were part of this kind of government tracking, which is, I guess, this precursor to the census in Japan. So the temples have records of all the families, and they were picked kind of out of not just opportunity, but because they already had some kind of registry in the form of these family graves. So all the family would be buried in one plot, and in the olden days, oftentimes families stayed in the same area. They didn't travel so much. They were always in these very closely knit communities. So it was easy to have everyone in the same place, and then as a temple, it was organized. And so when I was in Japan, I was able to go to these kind of family plots behind the temple, and it was interesting to see all the family names. And then, of course, during special occasions, or when people get together, or just like on a normal weekly basis, family members would come and they would clean and then put up offerings, whether it's flowers or water or something on the graves. So for me, that was a really cool and kind of a moving sight to see, being able to see all of that history and being able to see all of the family there. It connects you to these previous generations of people that maybe you didn't even know. And if you're at the temple and the temple knows your family, usually as they do, right, as kind of this neighborhood temple, they'll serve all the families in that area. They would also know your family and maybe be able to recall further back than you could remember. So again, having this relationship and having that kind of family tie and history that you could call upon was this amazing thing for me. And so it made me a little bit sad to think, in all honesty, I was a little bit disappointed that we don't have something like that here in America, right? Everyone's kind of spread out. There isn't really too much of like a family thing at the temple, although we do have a beautiful Nokotsuro, which I'm very appreciative of. But instead of staying, sad or disappointed or kind of negative thinking, I'm now in this positive understanding, or at least trying to be, in that we're creating our own history. So America as a place is not as old as the nation of Japan, but because of that, it's very exciting. And the people that came over from Japan and create these new traditions, they're able to create these traditions that become then a part of who we are here. And it opens it up not just for Japanese people, but for anyone who's a part of our community can learn our traditions and be a part of our Sangha and a part of our family. One thing I know that we do here in America that we don't do, or that they don't do in Japan, is that following a memorial service, we will go to a oftentimes Chinese restaurant. And again, this is kind of out of convenience, right? They can seat a lot of people. The food is relatively inexpensive, but still delicious. And everyone can come together with this like family style and meet and with each other. So because of this tradition that we have, I think it's this wonderful occasion for people to come together over delicious food and be very lively and talk, to have that kind of outgoing and like boisterous atmosphere. I really appreciate about the culture that we have created here. So that's just one way that we can understand our new tradition being started. And even now, it's different because people are branching out. I remember people telling me like, oh, we're going to break from tradition and we're not going to get a Chinese restaurant. We're going to go to something kind of fancier, which I thought was fantastic. Not because I go to Chinese restaurants all the time. Of course, I appreciate it anytime I'm able to go. But for a family to really just take it and make it something of their own, to not necessarily break from tradition, but to tweak it or bend it a little bit so that it's even more personal and meaningful to the family. So there's this great aspect about tradition where you have this connection to the past, where you know what you're supposed to do. And I think that's a fantastic aspect of any tradition. But there's also this really exciting and incredible opportunity for us as we're creating our own culture, in that we can really make it whatever we want it to be. So having this exciting attitude, I hope I can pass down that kind of enthusiasm to all the families here at our Betsuin, and in taking that kind of enthusiasm, really try to make our own traditions. Of course, recognizing that we have this background and this fantastic religion to rely on, in that we still have some freedom to make the most of it, to make it the most personal, the most meaningful, and the most fun for our entire family. So in doing so, we'll make each one of these memorial services the best possible thing for every individual. If you could please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Okay, now we'll close with the reading of the letter on white ashes. This letter was written by Rinyo Shonin in response to someone who had just passed away. In silently contemplating the transient nature of human existence, nothing is more fragile and fleeting in this world than the life of man. Thus, we have not heard of human life lasting for 1,000 years. Life passes swiftly, and few among men can maintain their form for even 100 years. Whether I go before others or others go before me, whether it be today or tomorrow, who is to know? Those who depart before us are as countless as the drops of dew. Though in the morning we may have radiant health, in the evening we may return to white ashes. When the winds of impermanence blow, our eyes are closed forever, and when the last breath leaves us, our face loses its color. Though loved ones may gather and lament, everything is to no avail. The body is then sent into an open field and vanishes from this world with the smoke of cremation, leaving only the white ashes. Nothing is more real than this truth of life. The fragile nature of human existence underlies both the young and the old. Therefore we must, one and all, turn to the teachings of the Buddha Dharma and awaken to the essence of life. By so understanding the meaning of death, we come to appreciate the meaning of this life, which is to be treasured because it is unrepeatable. By virtue of true compassion, let us realize the inexhaustible value of this existence, and let's live together with gratitude in our hearts. If you could please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Thank you again, everyone, for watching. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Bye.